First contact and retaliation. The UES Pathfinder drifted silently through the Cygnus constellation, its sensors scanning the cosmic void for signs of habitable worlds. Captain Elena Reyes stood on the bridge, her dark eyes reflecting the starlight from the main view screen. After 3 years in deep space, her crew had mapped dozens of potentially habitable planets, expanding humanity's understanding of the galaxy. Captain, I'm detecting unusual energy signatures. Lieutenant Marcus Wong reported, his fingers moving rapidly across the sensor panel. Configuration unknown, definitely not natural formations. Reyes straightened her uniform, feeling a familiar tension build in her shoulders. Maintain course. Open all communication channels. The bridge fell silent as strange vessels emerged from behind a nearby gas giant. Their hulls gleamed with an iridescent material unknown to human science, moving with precision that suggested highly advanced propulsion systems. "Beautiful," whispered Navigator Pottle. The alien vessels arranged themselves in a precise formation facing the Pathfinder. Their design was unlike anything humans had conceived. Organic curves interspersed with crystalline structures that pulsed with internal light. "Any response to our hails?" Reyes asked. Communications Officer Harper shook her head. "Nothing yet, Captain. I'm broadcasting on all formats and frequencies." Reyes took a deep breath. Humanity's first contact with an alien civilization would define her legacy. The United Earth Council had prepared protocols for this moment, emphasizing peaceful cooperation. "Keep trying. Let's show them we come in peace." After several tense minutes, the largest alien vessel emitted a beam of emerald light that swept over the Pathfinder. "They're scanning us," reported Science Officer Davis. "Very thorough sweep. They're analyzing everything from our hull composition to our life support systems." A chime sounded at Harper Station. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission." The view screen shifted to show a being unlike anything humans had encountered. The alien representative had 6 eyes arranged in a hexagonal pattern across a face with multiple speaking orifices. Its skin shimmered with colors that seemed to pulse with its emotions. Reyes stepped forward. "I am Captain Elena Reyes of the Earth vessel Pathfinder. We come in peace as explorers and wish to establish friendly relations." The translation algorithms worked frantically to decipher the response, which came as a series of harmonious tones. The computer finally rendered it in English. "Your presence is noted. This sector falls under Valkyrie protection. State your purpose." "We are explorers from Earth seeking knowledge and peaceful contact with other intelligent species," Reyes replied. "We claim no territory and mean no harm." The Valkyrie representative's eyes blinked in sequence. "Scans indicate primitive technology. Your species is unknown to our records. What interest do you have in System HD 200 and 9458? Reyes glanced at Officer Davis, who pulled up the star charts. "We designated it Prometheus," Davis whispered. "Potentially habitable exoplanet in the 4th orbital position." Reyes addressed the screen again. "We were conducting standard exploratory surveys. If this system holds importance to the Valkyrie, we respectfully acknowledge your prior claim." The communication paused as the Valkyrie shifted position slightly. "You have deployed observation devices on the 4th planet. Explain." "Standard atmospheric assessment probes," Reyes explained. "We had no indication the system was claimed. We can recall them immediately." Another pause. The Valkyrie ships moved again, now forming a loose circle around the Pathfinder. "Captain," Security Officer Rodriguez said quietly, "they've activated energy systems consistent with weapons charging." Reyes kept her expression neutral. "We mean no offense and will withdraw from this system immediately if you wish." The Valkyrie representative's tone shifted to something harder. "Your species is unknown, yet you approach valuable systems without proper authorization. This suggests deception." "There's been a misunderstanding," Reyes said, feeling the situation slipping away. "We had no way to request authorization, as this is our first contact with your civilization. Primitive species often claim ignorance when caught trespassing, came the reply. Your vessel contains technology specifically designed to locate valuable resources. All exploration vessels carry such equipment, Rise explained. It's standard procedure, not an indication of hostile intent. The six-eyed face moved closer to whatever visual sensor captured its image. The Valkyrie Imperium does not recognize Earth authority or claims. You will surrender your vessel for inspection. Rise glanced at her officers. This was escalating too quickly. We wish to cooperate, but surrendering our vessel exceeds my authority. Perhaps we could meet at a neutral location to establish proper diplomatic. Weapons locked on us, Rodriguez called out. Shields up, Reyes ordered. Power to engines. The Valkyrie representative's colors darkened to deep violet. Your defensive posture confirms hostile intent. Primitive species must learn proper respect. We are not hostile, Reyes insisted. We're raising shields as a precaution only. A beam of intense crimson energy shot from the nearest Valkyrie vessel, striking the Pathfinder's shields. Shields at 38% from a single hit, Rodriguez reported, his voice tight with alarm. Arm weapons, Reyes ordered, hitting the ship-wide comm. All hands to battle stations. This is not a drill. She turned back to the view screen. We have no quarrel with the Valkyrie Imperium. Please cease fire so we can resolve this peacefully. Primitive species require demonstration, came the cold reply. All 6 Valkyrie ships now oriented weapons toward the Pathfinder. Evasive maneuvers, Reyes ordered. Prepare emergency transmission to Earth. The Pathfinder banked hard, its engines straining as it attempted to break away from the encirclement. Another energy beam struck, then another. Hull breach on Deck 4. Rodriguez shouted, shields failing. Reyes gripped her command chair. Return fire. Target their weapons systems only. The Pathfinder's defense batteries launched a volley of plasma torpedoes. They impacted against the Valkyrie vessels with minimal effect. No significant damage to enemy vessels, Rodriguez reported grimly. A final devastating blast tore through the Pathfinder's engineering section. Emergency klaxons wailed as the lights flickered. Multiple systems failing, Harper called out. Life support compromised. Reyes made her decision. All hands to escape pods. Transmit all sensor data to Earth. They need to know what we're facing. As the bridge crew rushed to evacuation stations, Reyes initiated the emergency beacon. Her final act as captain was to ensure Earth would have warning of what was coming. 6 months later, Dr. Nathan Chen stood in the observation deck of the Luna Defense Station, staring at the holographic display of Earth's devastated colonies. New Washington, humanity's largest off-world settlement, had been reduced to ash by Valkyrie bombardment. 17 million lives lost in a single day. The casualty reports from the Proxima Centauri settlement just came in, said Admiral Takahashi, his weathered face grim as he joined Chen at the window. Total loss. No survivors. Chen closed his eyes briefly. And the Mars Defense Fleet? Destroyed. The Valkyrie technology is beyond anything we've encountered. Conventional weapons barely scratched their hulls. Chen turned to face the Admiral. Then it's time to try unconventional weapons. Show me to the project. They walked in silence through the station's secure sections, passing through biometric checkpoints that required DNA verification at each stage. Finally, they entered a vast hangar bay carved into the lunar regolith. Through the massive observation window, they could see the true scale of humanity's answer to the Valkyrie threat. The ship stretched nearly 2 kilometers in length, its midnight black hull absorbing light rather than reflecting it. Unlike traditional warships with their angular designs, this vessel featured organic, flowing curves that helped channel the quantum forces it would both generate and withstand. Workers in spacesuits swarmed across its surface like ants, installing the final components of the revolutionary drive system. When completed, the ship would be able to manipulate space-time itself, creating capabilities no other vessel could match. Beautiful, isn't it? Admiral Takahashi said quietly. Beautiful and terrible, Chen replied. The phase shift cascade system passed its final test yesterday. One ship with enough destructive power to render a planet uninhabitable. Takahashi's expression remained solemn. The Defense Council debated for 2 weeks about whether we should even build this ship. Some argued that creating such a weapon makes us no better than the Valkyrie. And what did you argue, Admiral? That unlike the Valkyrie, we didn't fire first. He turned to face Chen directly. Have you seen the footage from New Washington after the Valkyrie finished their bombardment? They landed ground forces to hunt down survivors. They showed no mercy, not even to children. Chen lowered his eyes. Everyone had seen the footage. The images haunted his dreams. The phase shift cascade wasn't my idea, he said quietly. I just made it work. And you should be proud, Takahashi said firmly. The Valkyrie believe they can wipe us out because we're technologically inferior. This ship will show them how wrong they are. Their conversation was interrupted by an alert chime. The main screen showed a shuttle approaching the shipyard. She's here, Admiral Takahashi said. Let's go meet her. They rode a transport tube to the docking bay and arrived just as the shuttle completed its landing procedures. The door opened and a woman in a commander's uniform stepped out. Her face bore a long scar running from temple to jaw, and her eyes held the haunted look of someone who had witnessed too much death. Commander Reyes, Admiral Takahashi said, offering a formal salute. Welcome to Project Nemesis. Captain Elena Reyes, the sole survivor of the Pathfinder, returned the salute. Her eyes were sharp and clear, analyzing everything around her with military precision. Admiral, Doctor, she acknowledged. I understand you've built me a ship. The most advanced vessel humanity has ever created, Chen confirmed, though it's still 2 weeks from completion. 2 weeks we may not have, Rice replied. The Valkyrie fleet has broken through our defenses at Jupiter. Earth is their next target. Admiral Takahashi's expression darkened. Then we'll have to work faster, Commander. If you'll follow me, I'll brief you on the ship's capabilities. They walked together toward the command center, passing through additional security checkpoints. The Nemesis isn't just a warship, Chen explained as they walked. It's a completely new approach to space combat. The quantum displacement field allows for unprecedented maneuverability. You can execute turns that would tear any conventional ship apart. And the weapons? Rise asked. 3 main systems, Admiral Takahashi replied. First, standard energy lances for conventional engagement. Second, the phase shift cascade system, essentially a targeted gravitational wave that can tear through any known shielding. And finally, the quantum lance. Rise raised an eyebrow. Quantum lance. Chen nodded. It focuses the ship's displacement field into a concentrated beam. It can literally tear an enemy vessel apart by creating different quantum states across its structure. One section might experience accelerated time, while an adjacent section experiences decelerated time. They entered the command center where engineers and officers worked at various stations. A central holographic display showed the Nemesis, now 94% complete. The Defense Council unanimously voted to give you command, Admiral Takahashi told Reyes. Your experience with the Valkyrie makes you the best choice. Reyes stared at the hologram of the Nemesis, her expression unreadable. When can I see the bridge? Chen checked his tablet. The command systems are online for testing. We can take you there now. As they moved toward another transport tube, emergency alerts began blaring throughout the station. Admiral Takahashi rushed to a communication panel. Status report. The grim face of a tactical officer appeared on screen. Sir, Valkyrie scout ships have been detected entering the lunar orbit. Estimated time to weapons range, 15 minutes. Takahashi turned to Chen and Reyes, his decision already made. Doctor, how functional is the Nemesis right now? The main systems are operational, but we haven't completed final integration testing. The quantum lance is untested outside simulation. Can it fly? Can it fight? Takahashi demanded. Chen hesitated, then nodded. Yes, at significant risk. Commander Reyes, the Admiral said formally, I'm officially commissioning the UES Nemesis into active service. Effective immediately, she's yours to command. Reyes didn't hesitate. I'll need a skeleton crew of your best engineers and tactical officers. You'll have them, Takahashi promised. Dr. Chen, you're going too. Nobody knows the ship's systems better than you. Chen wanted to protest, but knew there was no choice. The future of humanity might depend on the Nemesis launching today instead of 2 weeks from now. As they hurried toward the docking tube that would take them to humanity's last hope, Chen caught a glimpse of Earth through a viewport. Beautiful, blue, and vulnerable. For the first time in months, he allowed himself to feel something like hope. The Valkyrie thought they were facing a primitive species. They were about to learn how dangerous humanity could be when pushed to the edge of extinction. The dawn of reckoning. The skeleton crew of the UES Nemesis worked frantically to bring systems online as the massive warship disengaged from its construction cradle. Dr. Nathan Chen's fingers flew across the engineering console, bypassing safety protocols and rerouting power to essential systems. Quantum displacement field at 72% capacity, he reported. It's unstable but functional. On the command deck, Captain Elena Reyes strapped herself into the central chair. Around her, hastily assembled crew members took their stations, many still wearing civilian clothes beneath hastily donned tactical vests. Tactical status of weapon systems, Reyes demanded. Lieutenant Commander Ishida, a weapons specialist pulled directly from the research division, checked her console. Standard energy lances online. Phase shift cascade at 65% charge. Quantum lance, inconsistent, Captain. The targeting system isn't fully calibrated. Reyes nodded grimly. We'll make it work. Navigation. Plot intercept course with the Valkyrie scouts. Keep us between them and Earth. The massive engines of the Nemesis hummed to life, a sound unlike any conventional starship. Deeper, almost organic, as if the vessel were breathing. The station's massive hangar doors parted, revealing the star-filled void beyond. Luna Defense Station reports 5 Valkyrie scout ships approaching. Communications Officer Park announced. They're requesting transmission of our battle plan. Tell them our plan is to survive, Reyes replied, and to make the Valkyrie regret ever finding Earth. The Nemesis slipped free of its moorings, accelerating with unexpected grace for such a massive vessel. The quantum displacement field shimmered around the hull, distorting the space around it. Valkyrie vessels detected, Ishida reported. They've altered course to intercept. Energy signatures indicate weapon systems charging. Reyes leaned forward in her chair. On screen. The main view screen showed 5 Valkyrie scout ships, each a third the size of the Nemesis, but still formidable. Their crystalline structures pulsed with internal light as they formed a classic attack pattern. They're scanning us, Chen noted from the engineering station, reading our capabilities. Let's give them something to think about, Reyes said. Tactical. Target the lead vessel with standard energy lances. 1/4 power. Target locked, Ishida confirmed. Firing. Brilliant beams of coherent energy lanced from the Nemesis, striking the lead Valkyrie vessel. Unlike the ineffective weapons of previous human ships, these beams punched through the alien's shields, scoring deep gouges in its hull. Direct hit, Ishida reported, unable to keep the surprise from her voice. Valkyrie vessel showing significant damage. They're responding, Chen warned. Incoming fire. Crimson energy beams streaked toward the Nemesis from all 5 Valkyrie ships. Brace for impact, Reyes ordered calmly. The quantum displacement field shimmered and distorted around the ship. The enemy beams struck the field and bent. Their energy dispersed and redirected harmlessly into space. Stunned silence fell over the bridge. No damage, Chen reported, his voice barely above a whisper. The quantum field worked perfectly. It didn't just block their weapons, it redirected the energy. A rare smile crossed Reyes' face. Now we show them what humanity is capable of. Tactical, full spread of energy lances, maximum power. Full spread of energy lances, maximum power. The Nemesis unleashed its fury. Dozens of energy beams erupted from various points along its hull, striking all 5 Valkyrie vessels simultaneously. 2 exploded immediately, their crystalline structures shattering into luminous fragments. A third spun away, venting atmosphere and debris. The remaining 2 are attempting to retreat, Ishida reported. Navigation, pursuit course, Rise ordered. We can't let them report back. The Nemesis surged forward, the stars on the view screen blurring as the quantum displacement field bent space around the ship. Within moments, they had overtaken the fleeing Valkyrie vessels. In weapons range, Ishida confirmed. Target engines only, Rise ordered. I want one intact if possible. We need intelligence. Precise beams disabled one Valkyrie ship's propulsion systems. The other, perhaps recognizing its fate, suddenly turned and accelerated directly toward the Nemesis on a collision course. Evasive maneuvers, Rise shouted. No time. Chen called back. Instead of trying to avoid the impact, Rise made a split-second decision. Tactical, quantum lance. Target that ship now. Despite its uncalibrated state, the quantum lance activated. A beam of distorted space-time shot from the Nemesis, enveloping the charging Valkyrie vessel. The effect was immediate and horrifying. Different sections of the alien ship began experiencing different time flows. The front accelerated while the rear decelerated. Metal, crystal, and whatever alien materials composed the vessel twisted impossibly as relativity itself tore it apart. Within seconds, the ship had disintegrated into subatomic particles. Chen stared at his readings in disbelief. The quantum lance exceeded theoretical parameters by 340%. It didn't just destroy the ship, it erased it from existence. Rise turned her attention to the disabled Valkyrie vessel. Open a channel. The view screen shifted to show a Valkyrie commander, its 6 eyes blinking rapidly in what humans would later learn was an expression of extreme fear. This is Captain Elena Reyes of the UES Nemesis. Do you wish to surrender? The translation came through after a moment's delay. The Valkyrie Imperium does not surrender to primitive species. Look at your sensors, Rise replied coldly. Analyze what just happened to your companionship. There's nothing primitive about us. Surrender now, or face the same fate. The Valkyrie commander's skin rippled with changing colors. What are you? We are humanity, Rise said simply. And you attacked the wrong species. News of the Nemesis's victory spread rapidly through Earth's remaining defense forces. For the first time since the Valkyrie appeared, humanity had hope. Admiral Takahashi wasted no time, organizing the remnants of Earth's fleet around this new capability. The captured Valkyrie scout provided invaluable intelligence. Dr. Chen and his team discovered the location of the main Valkyrie fleet, gathering at Alpha Centauri, preparing for a final push to Earth. In the 3 weeks that followed, the Nemesis led increasingly bold strikes against Valkyrie outposts and supply lines. Each engagement refined their tactics and improved their understanding of the ship's unprecedented capabilities. Engineers worked around the clock to complete the unfinished systems and enhance those that had proven effective. Captain Rice stood on the bridge of the Nemesis, surrounded by her now experienced crew, as they prepared for their most ambitious operation yet. The Valkyrie have gathered their remaining forces at these coordinates, she explained, indicating a point in space near Alpha Centauri. Intelligence from our captive indicates this is their command ship, the Sovereign Luminance. It coordinates all Valkyrie operations in this sector. Their mothership, Ishida said. If we can take it out, we end this war, Rise finished. At least long enough for Earth to rebuild its defenses. Chen frowned at the tactical display. The Sovereign Luminance is surrounded by at least 30 warships. Even with our advantages, those are difficult odds. Which is why we won't be fighting alone, Rise replied with a thin smile. Admiral Takahashi, has gathered every remaining combat-capable vessel in the solar system. While they engage the escort fleet, we'll punch through directly to the mothership. The plan was dangerous but sound. 2 days later, the combined human fleet emerged from quantum displacement near Alpha Centauri. The Valkyrie, caught by surprise, scrambled to respond. Enemy fleet forming defensive positions around the sovereign luminance, Ishida reported. They're prioritizing its protection. Reyes nodded. As expected. Signal Admiral Takahashi. Commence Operation Thunderstrike. Earth's fleet engaged the outer ring of Valkyrie defenders. Though still technologically outmatched, their coordinated attack, designed to create specific vulnerabilities, drew the Valkyrie into predictable response patterns. Their repositioning as anticipated, Ishida noted, opening a gap in their formation. Navigation, full power to quantum displacement field, Reyes ordered. Take us through that gap. The Nemesis accelerated to speeds no conventional ship could match, the quantum field bending space around it. Before the Valkyrie could react, the massive human warship had slipped through their defensive screen and was bearing down on the sovereign luminance. The Valkyrie mothership was a breathtaking sight, a crystalline structure nearly 5 kilometers across, pulsing with internal light and surrounded by its own displacement field. They're bringing weapons to bear, Ishida warned. Energy signatures unlike anything we've encountered before. Evasive pattern Delta, Reyes commanded. Tactical, standard energy lances, continuous fire. Let's test their shields. The Nemesis unleashed a barrage against the sovereign luminance. The massive alien vessel absorbed the impacts, its shields flaring but holding. Minimal effect, Ishida reported. Their shielding technology is significantly advanced compared to their smaller vessels. Before Reyes could order another attack, the sovereign luminance responded. A massive pulse of energy erupted from multiple points on its surface, converging into a single devastating beam that struck the Nemesis head-on. The quantum displacement field shuddered under the impact. Warning alarms blared across the bridge. Displacement field at 43% and falling. Chen called out, his hands flying across his console to reroute power. One more hit like that, and we're finished. Reyes made her decision. Bring us in closer, point-blank range. Captain, Chen questioned, looking up from his station. Their weapon has a minimum safe distance, Reyes explained. They can't fire it if we're too close without damaging themselves. Navigation, take us in, full emergency thrust. The Nemesis surged forward, closing the distance to the sovereign luminance in seconds. As Reyes had predicted, the massive energy weapon didn't fire again as they drew closer to the crystalline surface. We're within 2 kilometers of their hull, navigation reported. Perfect. Tactical. Prepare the phase shift cascade. Target their central node. Captain, Chen interrupted. The phase shift cascade hasn't been tested at this range. The feedback could damage our own systems. Reyes met his gaze. If we don't end this now, there won't be an Earth to go back to. Do it. Ishida nodded grimly. Phase shift cascade charging. Target locked. Fire. The Nemesis unleashed its most devastating conventional weapon. Unlike a normal energy beam, the phase shift cascade was invisible to the naked eye, a ripple in space-time that propagated outward and struck the sovereign luminance. The effect was immediate. The massive crystalline structure began to vibrate at a quantum level, different sections moving at different frequencies. Their shields are failing, Ishida reported. Hull integrity compromising across all sections. The sovereign luminance fought back, firing conventional weapons at the Nemesis from multiple points. The human vessel shuddered under the impacts. Displacement field at 27%, Chen warned. We can't take much more of this. Around them, the battle between Earth's fleet and the Valkyrie escorts rage. Admiral Takahashi's forces were holding their own but suffering heavy losses. Reyes watched as fractures began to appear across the sovereign luminance's surface. The phase shift is working, but too slowly. Prepare the quantum lance. Chen turned from his station. Captain, the quantum lens at this range will create a feedback loop in our own systems. We haven't figured out how to shield against the backwash. How long will the ship remain functional after firing? Chen hesitated. 3 minutes, maybe less. Reyes opened a ship-wide channel. All hands, prepare for emergency evacuation on my mark. Get to escape pods. She turned back to the tactical display. Target the quantum lance on their central power node. Maximum power. Ishida's fingers trembled slightly as she entered the commands. Quantum lance targeted and ready, Captain. Signal the fleet to prepare for immediate quantum jump. Reyes ordered. On my mark. Fire. The quantum lance activated, a distortion in reality itself lancing out from the Nemesis and striking the heart of the sovereign luminance. The effect was beyond anything they had witnessed before. The massive alien vessel didn't simply break apart. It collapsed inward as space-time itself warped within its structure. A chain reaction began as its power core destabilized. Imminent detonation detected. Chen shouted. Their core is going critical. All hands, evacuate. Reyes ordered. Navigation, get us clear. The Nemesis's engines flared as it attempted to escape the impending explosion. Around them, the remaining Earth vessels jumped to safety using emergency quantum displacement protocols. On the bridge, warning systems blared as the quantum lance backwash began to affect the Nemesis's own systems. Displacement field failing, Chen reported. Drive systems compromised. Reyes looked around at her bridge crew. Get to the escape pods. That's an order. As her crew reluctantly complied, Reyes remained at her station, manually adjusting course to ensure the Nemesis would clear the blast radius. Behind them, the sovereign luminance imploded, creating a shockwave that rippled through space-time itself. Chen paused at the bridge exit. Captain, we need to go. Reyes nodded, finally relinquishing control to the automated systems. Together, they raced through the corridors of the dying ship, reaching the last escape pod as the structural integrity alarms reached critical levels. As their pod ejected from the Nemesis, they watched through the viewport as humanity's greatest warship was caught in the edge of the shockwave. The quantum displacement field fluctuated wildly before collapsing, and the Nemesis disappeared in a flash of light. Silence fell in the escape pod as they watched the remnants of the Valkyrie fleet, now without coordination from their mothership, begin to scatter in disarray. It worked, Chen said quietly. We actually did it. Reyes stared at the dissipating energy cloud where both the sovereign luminance and the Nemesis had been. Humanity was pushed to the brink. We responded by creating something that changed the rules of warfare forever. What happens now? Chen asked as Admiral Takahashi's flagship approached to retrieve their pod. Reyes turned to him, her expression resolute. Now we rebuild, and we prepare, because the Valkyrie weren't the only species out there, and the next ones we meet might be even more powerful. As their pod was drawn into the safety of the human vessel, Reyes allowed herself a moment of reflection. The war wasn't truly over. This was just the beginning of humanity's ascension to the stars. But they had proven something vital. When pushed to the edge of extinction, humans didn't surrender. They innovated. They fought back. And sometimes they changed the very rules of the game. The galaxy would never underestimate humanity again.